Welcome to the Public Speaking Experts Podcast with Elliot K. and Jose UCAR. Every week we bring the tips, tools, and strategies for you to become a world-class public speaker. We bring you guests, experts, and authorities in the field of public speaking to enrich you and enhance your public speaking journey. Remember to subscribe, rate, and comment. And now, please welcome your hosts, Elliot and Jose.
It is Monday, which means it is the Public Speaking Expert Podcast recording day. Jose, are you super excited or what?
Sorry, say that again. I couldn't hear you. Are we podcasting already?
We are podcasting already. Yes, we are.
All right. Yeah. So
what I said was,
what do you say?
It's Monday and it's podcast recording day. Are you excited?
It's Monday again, and here
I haven't
we're
seen
podcasting.
you for like 2 weeks.
Yes,
you should be like, oh my God, Ellie, I'm so happy to see you. I've missed you, brother. Like another mother.
Yeah.
Or like a hole in the head.
Well, brother, I mean, you've been
looking
asking
at your phone.
me. No, I'm not looking at my phone. I was looking at my drinks and, just make sure I got my drinks, my coffee and my water, and then the phone as well and my chapstick, the lipstick. Elliot, I miss you, but then I've been asking you, to finally meet, and then you asked, we're never meeting and we want to meet, bring my family over, my wife, blah, blah. Yeah, I did. I asked you, so give me some dates. I gave you some, and then I still haven't heard back from you. So this is how excited I am. Okay,
you know what I especially love about today is I get to speak to someone clever and intelligent and someone with insight and someone that's been in the industry for years. And that's what I'm really looking forward to today. But Jose, I want you to be reassured that I
love you.
I just want you to know that I love you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. But today I'm super excited because not only do I not get to hear from you most of the podcast, but I get to hear from someone that we've had the pleasure of connecting with, who shows up on a regular basis to our clubhouse, shares his wisdom, his insight, his knowledge, who has a passion for the industry. And, I think it's interesting because I'm talking about David Stollman, of course, our guest. And here's the interesting part. If ever you would think of a stereotypical image of an agent, David is completely the opposite, right? If you think of this cutthroat, go get, kill kind of mentality, I could be completely wrong, by the way, but I get the completely opposite impression about David. He cares, he's compassionate, he's passionate. He wants his speakers to do really well, not just because they get him paid, because he actually cares for their well-being. He cares about their businesses. He cares that they pay taxes, which is why, Jose, I was like, we've got to get him on the Public Speaking Expert podcast. What do you think?
Yeah.
That's it.
Amazing. Is that it? Look, I think when you're saying, I mean, what can I say about David? I love him. And he can be the antithesis of what we know.
I love you.
Of a speaker agent and everything else. But, when he brings the guns, when he brings the knowledge, the insights and everything else, I think he cuts throats as well in his very unique way. He's very contrarian and I love his style. He's
cut my throat a few times. He's one of the very few that they're good at cutting. You're not good at cutting my throat, but he's very good at cutting my throat.
No, I'm not interested in cutting your throat. Then how are we going to carry on podcasting? There we go. But you do get on my nerves. You know that with that smile of yours. Anyway, let's not make it personal. Let's just keep it professional.
So I keep smiling. I'm going to keep smiling. So let's bring this back. But a couple of shout outs very quickly. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the guys at Riverside. I'm a Riverside, mate, who've officially acknowledged us as the top 5% content creators for Riverside. I'm a Riverside, mate.
We are on Riverside, mate.
Exactly. So we're super excited about that. Let me see if I can. Where is it? Ready? Are you ready for this? Here we go.
Peter, where are you? I'm on Riverside, mate.
There we go. I think that's what did it. It's that recording that we keep going. I'm on Riverside, mate. So, David, welcome to the Public Speaking Expert podcast. How did you find that as an intro to a podcast?
Yes.
Not coming back again.
It is an intro to a podcast. It is.
It's different, huh?
But I will say that I enjoyed that assessment of me because while I represent my speakers and our talent, I want to do it in a way that is not stereotypical, but meaningful. I'm going to speak at times very slowly because I know when I listen to your podcast, I'm doing it at 1.5 or 1.75 to sound like chipmunks fighting. And so maybe if I slow down the cadence of my speech, people will say, well, that's normal compared to them. And at different times, I may speed up too, because then they'll be running or whatever they're doing with their phone and look down. And but in truth, it's funny because I have a cousin who is a sports agent with very high talent, high talent, top of the line NFL football, American football players. I have my brother who is in the film industry and for a long time was an agent as well in feature films. And while I love them both, I am not like them in many ways and got into the agent business very differently. And it wasn't a destination I picked out, but I advocate for other people who, like I was a speaker at the time, in a way that could protect their impact and help them build a livelihood doing well by doing good. And that's really what brought me into it. And Campus Speak, my company, is all about really doing that.
Love it. So give us a little bit. Give us a little bit. So you didn't wake up going, "I want to be an agent one day." So tell us how you ended up becoming an agent one day.
The truth is, I became a speaker, and I became a speaker because I was interested in as a college student in the student organizations that I was involved in, and I had the opportunity to do consulting work across the United States. And I wanted to travel, and I wanted someone else to pay for it, and so that's what I ended up doing. And so I did that for about a year, and then I did it for another year under somebody's banner, taking their content first and then making it my own and continuing that on in that development. And I was working with universities, and schools kept asking me to come back. And I was working on a master's degree at the time when schools kept asking me to come back and do more of this work that I was doing. And it turned into one after the next. And so then I became a speaker. And while I was working on this master's program, I started reaching out to mentors of mine, as others who have given me advice said, if you want to be a good speaker, get around good speakers, have good speakers as friends. And they started to ask me to manage their stuff. And so I started managing 18 speakers that were doing this very part-time, managing contracts, collections, some group marketing for us all to save some money and energy. And it grew where I was managing 18 speakers and doing it full time. And as I found another mentor tell me, I'm interested in doing the same thing, I said, great. And I dumped it on him. We built up our roster, and he for the first 15 years before I bought him out, that we built our roster up and really had great intentionality on, we were the only agency focused on speakers in higher education in North, whereas others worked with bands, comedians, jugglers, and novelties and everything. And what we were focused on, the educational mission that would advance a university or college's educational mission. And so we became very deep and specific, and everything that we were building and doing was to be in line with that mission. This industry, we've been able to build in 20 some years now, a brand and an identity that is trusted within our field. And I think that's quite honestly my biggest accomplishment.
Wow.
Love that. Josie.
David, how many speakers do you have now within Campus Speak?
We maintain a roster of about 50 to 60 average speakers, 50 to 60 on average year to year. And some are very full-time, very part-time. Some work in higher education as well as other industries. We have some speakers that are associations and corporate. Some are in high school as well as military. So they have, most of our speakers are in a few different areas, the full-time ones especially. And then we have some that are very part-time. That this is a very small part of the work that they do.
So would you say it's the 80-20? 80%, 20% of your revenue comes from, 80% of your revenue comes from 20% speakers. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, it's pretty close. I think it might even be closer to 90-10. But
oh wow,
that's just because some of the full-time ones, the volume of them is, yeah. But
so
my company, we branched off. So we have more than just speakers. We also have interactive workshops. So a difference is a speaker is one stage, an unlimited audience, maybe an hour. Our workshops are 3 to 5 hour deep dives for groups up to 50 that are facilitated by people, many of which are our best customers that are very part-time, trained in just facilitating that curricula or those curricula. That's a part of our company. We also have online courses. So one of the things that we decided to do through another company of mine, supporting as a partner, is so Jose has amazing content, so much that it's well beyond what 1 hour keynote could do. I think he needs an online course, which is a really updated version of a book for a speaker, because a book now is seen in many ways as credibility. It's a way of delivering content, but it all actually is a greater ability to keep things immediately relevant in changing times, as well as create community. And you're able to get feedback in such a way from an online course that you can't get from a book. So it's a different animal in many ways. And so we're helping some of our speakers layer their educational content into a multimodal way, where they have an online speech. Some also have consulting work, but they also have a book and an online course. So a client can really interact with their content and benefit from it in many ways.
Okay.
And
Well, I was
think
going to
it's
say,
important to highlight quickly, because that's not Jose, that's not me. So there is another Jose. What's his surname? No, just in case, because people listening to the podcast, they know Jose, but it's not me.
Jose.
he is Jose.
Yes.
He's Jose, the Jose. And what's his surname, David?
No, I'm talking about you, actually.
He's actually
you need to get your content out. That was to get you moving here.
Where's okay, thank you very much.
Your online course? The world needs more of what's in your head out there. Come on, man.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I thought you were talking about. Oh, are you joking me? Now,
no, yes, one of our speakers is Jose Pereira. Yes, okay. One of the speakers we represent.
Oh, sorry for the confusion. No, that's okay. This is what happens when I pretend.
Is not my asset.
No, definitely not today. I'm pretending to be professional here, listening to what you're saying, and then apparently you were talking about me. I do have an online course, by the way.
I didn't know.
I haven't got a book yet. Yeah, it's called The World Class Communicator.
Why is the book not out, Jose?
And the book is not out yet because I haven't written a book. And there is another one. Well, I'm doing one with Elliot, but then that's another story. That's just an excuse. I haven't checked some chapters.
You haven't checked? David. You haven't done anything? What do you mean you haven't
just leave me alone. At least I'm not sitting here doing nothing. I mean, there are some other things happening in the background.
What's that, David?
Okay. Elliot, everyone has their own process.
That's true. Some take months and months, while others move a lot quicker than that. So yes, that is very true. So let's deep dive. What's your next question, Jose? Because I know you have one. Before I go.
Well, my next question. You said you have 50 to 60 speakers, and then you deliver workshops and everything else. And you have also part-time speakers. And I was curious, is there... Oh, there is a bit of echo I've noticed just now. Okay. Are there some critical points that you think get certain speakers booked more than others? Or do you get, I want Jose, or I want Elliot, or I want this other guy? What would you say are the reasons for that?
I think I'll put the caveat in the higher education market. There are differences in buying cycles, buying trends, issues, and all of those things. One of which is that the higher education market, in which we most frequently serve, is very reactionary to immediate. So if, in the United States, there was a big racial reckoning in the wake of the George Floyd murder. And universities started to realize, oh, wow, we have some issues. I think we knew them. And there were people within universities that said, well, we've been saying this for a while. But what happened is that budget funds started to move. Timing and priority of things started to move to do programming in those areas. And so, we may have speakers that have been around and fairly busy for a while doing diversity, equity, inclusion programming, that as that shift in the market became very immediate and the topic grew, they became busier. Over the years, we've always done more alcohol and drug programs. And as money went from those topics toward, eventually they started to move toward sexual violence prevention, rape prevention programming, which also, again, was a topic for years. And one of the points of pride is agency representing a speaker talking about that issue and forcing universities to say something they didn't want to talk about and really have deep and powerful conversations on it. And this was a woman that was on the cover of Time magazine for the lack of it. And it started to move that topic up. So what you'll see with our speakers is some topics will wane, will grow and then wane, and you'll see them get busier. But one of the differences within our market is that in higher education, oftentimes the buyer is a college student. The person who makes the decision, we want this speaker over that speaker, is a college student. So when you market to an association, they may have the same executive director of that association for 20 years. When you market to a company, the people that bring programming in through HR might be the same person for 5 or 10 years. High school, a primary, school that the principal or vice president principal is there for a long time and does the programming. Our market has a constant churn of buyers. So it's topical. It's the advertising that you do. It's the position that you have in terms of immediate credibility and relatability. So people that are now like Elliot, a TikTok star, but that also have great content, are able to. But who knows how long TikTok will be around relative to what Facebook or Instagram. And so people that are surfing many trends in our market, but also for my company, we're talking about people that have great content, make deep impact. And so a number of the gatekeepers are the ones that say, well, yes, you can go to Campus Speak because we've vetted people. And when they're busy or have limited resources or time, they just know, kind of like, need to find a babysitter and all the normal people are set and like you can't get anybody. And then you have to go to a service, and that babysitter service, the credibility of them, you lean on. So my company has been able to build up that credibility within our particular market so that some people are very part-time. They're not doing a lot of marketing, but when the issue comes up, the university calls us and we say, here's the person that you might not know of, and they need to be in front of your students. Okay. So it's a long answer to a very complicated question, I think.
No, I'm good at fantastic. Plenty of detail. I loved it. Thank you very much for that.
So before we go to a mini kind of commercial break, let's ask the £1 million question, $1 million question. In fact, I'm going to ask two of them, $2 million questions. In fact, I might even do this.
$2 million question.
Right. Extra bonus. 1, what does an agent want from a speaker? 2, when should a speaker seek an agent?
It's a great set of questions. An agent wants things for their clients, and an agent wants things for their business.
Right.
So on one side of the coin, we have a written policy it's in our application, no divas.
What?
I don't want to deal with.
How could you say that?
I don't want to deal with speakers bullshit and their big heads or anything like that. I have no tolerance or time, and wasting any of my staff time on dealing with that crap is no.
So I see why you're not working with Elliot. Okay.
So if you're the kind of speaker that has high maintenance and you need this in your green room, or you need people, you're definitely not for us. And there are agencies that will tolerate that. So I will say that it doesn't make it easier to get selected by an agent. Things would have to overcome that. So responsiveness. I'll tell you, the person who does our sales, if she texts you and say, here's a gig offer, and you don't respond, within an hour, she starts finding out if you're on an airplane or stalking you on social media to find out where you are. If it's 12 hours and you haven't responded, oh boy, you're in trouble. If it's 24 hours and you haven't responded, you're like dead to her. So, things happen quickly. And so responsiveness. Even if it's the I don't know yet, but responsiveness, easy to work with, someone that's committed to their cause so that we can genuinely and honestly sell you. Say this is a person that's that has integrity, that has a business ethic and professionalism that we want to work with, and on the other side of it, that we want to work and provide to our customers, so that we're giving them not just good content on a stage for the audience, but a good experience from start to finish. So on that other side, we had a speaker apply and as I had the conversation and I keep in touch with a lot of potential speakers over multiple years. And 3 times he applied. The first time he just wasn't ready. He was very early on in his speaking journey. And I told him that, look, I may have been able to see potential in Michael Jordan as he was getting cut from his middle school basketball team. I may have been able to see that potential, but he still had to become Michael Jordan such that he would never be cut again. In middle school, helped him to become Michael Jordan. And that name was earned. So the first time he just wasn't ready. The second time he got edged out by somebody else with a better book. And I said, you are good and you're going to be great. And I know that's the case, but you need to start working and earning and hustling. And because and now we have a great relationship for a number of years. I said, make it so I can't say no. And he came back with a good book of business. And I also know that he'd done some of that work so that when we do it for him and he's giving us a commission to buy his time back, he understands what we're doing, appreciates what we're doing, and it becomes a real partnership so that he can understand how we're doing it. We can work together on strategy because he understands he's done that grind and the hard work. And we're able to now have a much better partnership. So the people that come to any agent and say, I'm great on stage, I'm amazing with my content, now do everything else, I won't touch them. I won't go near them. It's just not our business model because our margins are so much slimmer. That person better solve a really big problem that someone wants to pay a lot of money for, because in the lot of money that they get paid, a good chunk of it needs to go to someone to dealing with all that. That they need a manager and an agent who are going to take a lot of that stuff on, and it has to be worth their time. So, the juice has to be worth the squeeze, as they say. So how do you get picked by an agent? Provide great content, be very professional and responsive, run your business well and show that you know how to do the business. So you can partner with that agent together and take what is a small fire and let that agency be the kerosene that ignites it to a much greater level.
I want to squeeze in one more question, if I may.
Of course.
Jose, is that okay? So I think there's an education piece here needed to be done between the difference between an acting agent and a speaking agent, right? And I think how they operate is distinctly different. And I'd love to hear that explanation from you. As someone that has, is it cousins or who do operate, it's a very different, not only mentality, but also how you execute the service is very different. And I'd love to hear you explain the difference for our audience more than anything.
Well, there are bureaus and there are agencies and there are managers. There's management. And so the label means a lot less than the suite of services you're paying. So, for example, our agency also has a marketing firm attached to it where we buy our speakers, pay for marketing through that channel, and we put it all together. So the services are the way I think the best lens to look at this. Are you paying for someone to do outbound marketing, direct sales, making phone calls for you? Is that more of a manager or an agent? It depends on what you're paying for and what agency you select. If it's just, they receive phone calls from clients, they have relationships that they've established with clients, and when your topic comes up, they plug you in. or they do all contracts and negotiations and collections and all of that back end side as well, or they do marketing and branding for you. So look at the suite of services and that you think might be just lower touch and lower in terms of their involvement, act and provide some of the services that an agency might and that a manager might. So I think it's really best to do and look at the services. And I know, my again, a cousin in sports and a brother in film, that they did different things as well from each other. So that's why I think whenever you're considering a service provider, is this a tax accountant only, or do they do financial planning also? Look at the services that are provided and look at what you can do, what you might have someone do better for you than you can do, and start to match up those services you need with the ones that they provide. Research and good questions will come in, but a lot of self-awareness too. These are the things I could do, but someone would do better. So that's what I would suggest when shopping around and looking for people that can provide, whether it's an agency, a bureau, or a manager.
Okay, before I say any more, Jose.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elliot. I'm here as well today. Hey, Jose came to the party.
He's just not here to look pretty,
Well,
Exactly.
That's
This
a
is
different
audio.
conversation.
Well, that's a debate for another day. Oh, we got Regina joining us as well for the first time.
Oh, hello,
Oh, no, she
Regina,
left.
joining us
Okay,
live.
well, she
Oh,
wanted
no,
to
she's
join
gone.
us, and
She
gave-
just
gave up.
teased us. She was teasing us.
So, David, the way I see this, which is an interesting angle as well, it's like a partnership between the speaker and the agent. And I want to go more into the technicalities of it. We tend to speak about all the collaterals of the speaker. So, as speakers, what are those sets of collaterals that we're supposed to be building up when we go and apply for a speaking engagement or applied for a speaking agency in your case? So what do you want to see in there? Say, there's a show reel. How do you want to see that show reel? There is a one pager or that resume. How do you want to see that? What are the elements that stand out for you as an agent that will make people more bookable or accepted into your organization?
Yeah. I would also, again, caveat that the way that we do what we do at Campus Speak is different than many other agencies because of our market. So talking with other agents that are more in the field that you would want to focus on is the best advice I could give. Is that there's that feeling of professionalism that when you see a well-branded piece of material and the consistency from a variety of collateral that comes across and sort of has an intangible sort of washing over you, like, yeah, this person's the real deal. That their show reel has a feel that is similar in its elements and its construction to something that you're reading, to whether it's a PDF. The visual construction has a similarity, that they fit together like pieces in a puzzle, as opposed to a very, as I've some speakers put, very disjointed. Here it just looks like YouTube. And this looks like a stock PDF template I used. So a level of consistency and a high level of branding across all of the collateral. And the attention to detail is something that I notice after I don't notice it. It's an overall feel first. I look for, is that really designed or is this just, accidental? And I think those that really design and keep a real keen eye on the attention to those details and the consistency across them. So if they're close their show reel, that maybe keywords that they want to make sure are highlighted in a different color, and those same keywords will show up on their one-sheeter. So that type of minute attention to detail, because it adds to a depth of that consistency of the message comes across in a much deeper way. When I look at show reels, honestly, I skip around when I watch them. And I don't know if other people do this too, but if there's a 3-minute show reel, I'll watch the first 15, 20 seconds. I'll fast forward. I'll watch another 30 seconds. I'll fast forward again. And then I might go back and watch different parts. again, just to see if you cut through, am I going to see a consistency of style and delivery or not? I'll look at the one, and I'll look at what they're trying to communicate. I'll also look at what they're not trying to communicate. So if there's a reason they don't have testimonials that is obvious to me, I'll know why they're not using testimonials. If the bottom third is covered with corporate logos, then I'm wondering what they're compensating for, because that real estate may have been used toward a better understanding of who they are, what they do, and whom they do it for. And those basic questions I go over with you so often in Clubhouse, the I help X with Y so they can Z, I have to be able to know immediately the answers to those questions from their collateral. So it's the details and it's the overall package is what I look for. Sort of is, if you're asking from a trained eye and I am that, then that's what my trained eye looks for. Is that helpful?
Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, that was very helpful, especially, I mean, the whole way to connect the dots in all the different documents, the collaterals. I really like the element that, even the keywords that you're using on your show reel, then to use them on your one pager and maybe even on a blog or something else or on your website. Super helpful, David. And yes, indeed, a very, very clinical eye, which is why I love having you here.
I see a question in the chat about, is a show reel really important? It depends. For some, I would say it this way. If it is important for someone, it's better that you have it. So to make sure that something like that's accessible, I think sizzle done really well can substitute a show reel. I think sizzle reels are best sizzle reels are I think from great editors. A great editor who understands and can connect can take what is a good show reel and condense it in such a way. Look, if I tell you a Hyundai in 30 seconds, I'm sorry, you better have a great 30-second show reel in a sizzle reel. So that show reel condensed and edited with other clips and B-roll and maybe a variety of ways. And the way I always suggest to people, whether it's your show reel or a sizzle reel, find people. Look, musicians, all the greatest even can talk about those musicians before them that were their influences and that they built their success upon those influences. Same thing with their collateral. Find people that, you just know you connect with their message, connect with the way they deliver their message, their business model, and start looking at how they communicate themselves to learn.
I think, it's also important to understand when it comes down to show reel, sizzle reel, that, the standard expectancy, if you're a professional, is you have one and a good one. That if you don't, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage, right? So if you can be a great speaker, but if you're not showing up with what the minimum is, then you're already below minimum. And I think that's the important part. So they are important. Why? Because every other speaker has one. So you not having one, sure, you might drop on the odd, oh, they're so different. Let me find out. You go, they don't have one, in the bin. And it's normally the latter. They don't have one, in the bin.
Unless you are some kind of content expert in such great depths that you want to say, oh, well, no, I'm not really a speaker. I'm just a content expert. I am an expert among all experts in this one particular minute topic. And okay, you can do that, but don't expect it, you should expect it will have an impact on the general, purchasability that, that someone might consider you, and whether you're going to be on their stage or not.
Did that answer your question, Jose?
Well, that did answer my question. And the other question came from the chat, which I love. That's the fact that people are engaging with us live.
Conversations.
Thank you so much. You have got a great opportunity here. And I mean, regarding the importance of show reels, simple. If I want you to speak at one of my events and I don't see you speak anywhere, how do I know?
Exactly.
You can't deliver what you said you can.
How do I know? Yeah. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Every now and then I just burst out in song.
Yeah, what ifs.
Another
is your cousin watching this? Is your cousin watching this, David? How does that know? No, joking.
I hope not. The other piece of advice would be to stop hiding your collateral. How many?
Yes.
We lost him. He's given
yeah,
up.
He's
yeah.
gone.
I
He's
actually,
gone.
How many
for a
speakers
moment,
have
but I'm
their
back. I'm back.
collateral 3 or 4 clicks deep on a
Right.
web page? Why are you making it hard for someone to buy your product? I mean, it's great. Have a Dropbox or something that your page can link to where they can have everything from, your promotional material once they hire you all the way through to, everything, right? But your collateral for what they, that front facing stuff should be immediately accessible, as they say, links to it above the fold on your webpage. Just stop hiding the good stuff.
That's right. Bring your good stuff to the front. All right, Jose. And even
Absolutely, every
if
time.
you have to
Even-
sing about it,
exactly. How would I know?
how would you know? This is really interesting. So I've got a couple more questions, and one I'll let you geek out on. But what are the big, like, you've told us kind of one of your no-nos is don't be a diva. But what would you say is kind of the other two top no-nos? So don't be a diva, be responsive. So don't be arrogant and think that we're going to wait and hold the gig for you. Is there any other kind of no-nos you want to put out there to our audience that are both listening and watching this?
In working with agents and agencies,
Yeah.
I want to be tactful in saying this, but tact is not my strongest suit. So
Give us
it
the
takes
gift of
great
your
effort.
honesty.
I'd say do your best to live by, a professionalism and a set of ethics that someone can count on. If you enter into a contract, enter into that contract in spirit and word, become a partner with those with whom you contract. I'm tired of, the speakers that are trying to angle and squeeze and dance around relationships to, basically sidestep responsibilities. Oh, well, the contract might say this, but I'm going to try to squeeze and act like that. Quit trying to get up over people. Why don't you work in a collaborative, actual building relationship rather than trying to go behind someone's back? And I will say this, that, the idea that speakers can't have, if you preach from the stage something about being a leader and ethics and things like that, you got to live that way as well. Don't talk about a willingness to have difficult conversations and then avoid them in your personal and business life. Don't talk about authenticity and be full of shit. Let's try preaching it both in the stage as well as the way you do business. Because I'm tired of honestly of speakers that are just self-interested in their operations, and sort of that attitude of conniving, and it's like the worst of the business in stereotype. And that's why I'm just tired of that. And I would hope that people come with a heart to serve, and a heart to partner and work out problems and all that kind of stuff, because there will be rub. But when you do it from a place of goodness and a desire for mutual benefit, then I think it makes life a lot easier for everybody.
Fab. Love that. Jose?
David, we've had this conversation in the past as well. And sometimes with Elliot, whenever we're going to be promoting what we do, and we always think about the American market, because as you know, we're in the UK, but then the American market for speakers, for coaches, is huge, as we all know. So what would be your recommendations for us, for people listening to this, people that would like to start in the American market? What would you say to them? What do we need? How can we make it happen? Over to you, senor.
Wow.
Big question.
I don't know if I could speak for the entire American market.
Well,
I
just
will
give
say
us
in
your take
general,
as usual.
Just North America.
I would just say in general, any market, you got to learn. I know that I don't know so much more than I know. Right? I know that. And when it comes to whether it's, aspects of corporate speaking, it's different than the world that I've been living the last 25 years, that little tiny corner I'm in. So I know that I don't know. And so with the UK market, I only know where to begin, which is to talk to people like you and to get deep in the weeds and to do all that I can to learn what I don't know, and even learn the things that I don't know that I don't know. so that I can start to learn them too. So when it comes to the American market, there are so many sub-markets, I'm guessing, like in the UK, like across the continent, Asia, everything else, that there are so many sub-markets and trends. So for anyone that wants to learn about higher education in North America, start to read the journals or highered.com or other, university business. There are entities that put out publications that you can learn just by scanning the headlines. So if you want to learn about a particular sub-market of the US and you want to learn about association management companies and what publications are out there about the association of association executives. And so I think it's a matter of diving in and learning the things as best you can within your particular vertical. I'm a big fan of niching, going deeper and deeper into one niche, that going broad makes you someone that's not credible in all things. So going deep into one market is the best business model. I truly believe in it.
And David, quickly, one question that follows my initial question. Thank you for that, by the way. So imagine people from the UK or people from any other country, they want to speak to the higher education industry, they come and talk to you. Do you take speakers let's call it foreign speakers, international speakers on board as well? No, I'm not speaking about Elliot and myself. In general, people listening to this conversation that, they would like to do that.
Yeah.
And Elliot and myself.
I think it's a good question, because I've already told both of you how much I love you and no. And how much respect I have for you and no. The thing is, you have to look at the business model. In higher education, the general speaking fee is lower. And so, what you're paying for in cost in international travel might be something to add into an existing business in a small, very specific way, but to build an entire business around it might be much more challenging. Replicating that model in the UK is something that's more curious to me. Is if there are lots of speakers, there are lots of speakers. There are people that are teaching people how to be speakers in the higher education market in North America. We have a program, College Speakers Academy, through our website to try to help give people a real assessment, because there are others that are out there saying you can make only 4 months, and I'm like, holy smokes, it feels disingenuous to me. And so we put something out there, and honestly, some of the best feedback I got once was somebody telling me, I invested in your program and I saved a ton of money because it told me this wasn't the right market, and all the money I was going to invest in building a business in this market was saved because I now know this isn't the right place for me. And so that was amazing. For other people, and they're successful, doing well by doing good. So maybe there's a better move of going into the UK and building a market where there is not as big a market and staying close to home. And I'd be very interested to talk with people who might know how to do that in the UK.
We'll definitely need to connect you with a former guest of ours, Maria Franzoni. I'm sure you two have a very interesting conversation. Maria, if you're watching this, connect with David. You could have a very interesting conversation. She's incredible. You're incredible. She definitely is one of the people to connect with in terms of insight into the UK speaking market. She ran a bureau for 25 years. She now teaches speakers how to be bureau ready. But certainly she knows who's who in the industry. She's the 118 of the speaking industry. So if you know what 118 is in the UK, it's like the directory.
Think he would.
It's I think I translated to the 411 here, the info. The number you call for info.
Similar,
The Wikipedia a bit, of the speaking industry. So David, what we like to do is we like to make sure that whoever does want to reach out to you can reach out to you as we start to wrap up this episode. So how do people reach out to you? What do they need to do? Tell them now.
You asked another big no. I will tell you as within the context of my contact. You can reach me through Campus Speak, one word, 1s.com. Or my email address is on there. Our website is really, really informative, which means when people come to me and say, hey, I want to speak on college campuses, and they've done no research on our website, I know they're not professional, because anyone that's really professional will look at a website and try to learn something. And I will then question sort of how they do business in my mind. So if you want to reach out to me, shoot me an email. I'm happy to connect with people. I'm on LinkedIn a tiny bit, not much. I'm eager to be able to connect with great people that want to do good things. And, I'm very mission driven. One of our speakers long ago, who was also a comedian, who passed, named Mike DiStefano, it said, if you have no cause, you will have no impact. And look for people that are mission driven in what they're trying to accomplish on this earth. And so if that fits the bill and you're willing to do a little bit of reading on our webpage so that we can have an informed conversation that's valuable, I'm open to the connections and happy to serve in any way that I can.
Brilliant. Jose, any final last words?
I just have the usual, and I'm going to share this from the bottom of my heart. Always with David, the impact is going to be.
He can't even do it. He can't even do it. He's so
the impact is in the unpack.
There we go. The impact is in the unpack. So close.
Brilliant.
And always remember that success is on the other side of fear. And David has got so much more wisdom. David, it's been a pleasure, my friend. I mean, I know we could carry on with this conversation for at least 2 or 3 more hours. So people watching this live, people listening to the replay, listening to the podcast, subscribing to the podcast and sharing it, please get in touch with David, an incredible human being apart from a professional. He's also often on Clubhouse. So check him out. Get in touch. David, I haven't got anything else to say today apart from Elliot, leave me alone. Thank you very much, everybody.
David, thank you again for coming today. It's been a pleasure. So here's what I want to just wrap this up with. Look, you've heard from David, a man in the mix who has met, worked with, said yes, said no to thousands of speakers across the last 20 plus years. There is no one fits all solution, but what you do need to do is do your research, know what you're looking for, and come with a collaborative approach. Don't be a diva. Work together because you're more likely to achieve more. Till the next time, go out there, not only to be a great speaker, but to
speak your greatness. Oh, sorry. So for David to say. So say that
David,
again, Elliot. Yeah, it's for David to say.
No.